that deal was ever going to get made was doing it this way.
Which way? You said
The John Skipper way.
Meaning
that there's no relationship between me, Wilder, me, Shelley, me. Like, I've reached out a dozen times to make offers to just try.
You're paying me to quit. You got to put Skipper on the
Correct,
with Wilder.
Yeah, but he's got to be the one, in my opinion, that brokers the deal, because he's got two people to broker the deal with.
Okay, so you heard it out of his own mouth. Eddie Hearn is going to have nothing to do with this Deontay Wilder DAZN deal, or I should say this rumored or this potential Deontay Wilder DAZN deal. As we all know, Deontay Wilder is scheduled to meet with DAZN representatives next week. He's supposed to talk with John Skipper, and as reported by Deontay Wilder during his Boxing Voice interview, Eddie Hearn will definitely not be involved in that at all. And it's people are saying that there's this earn with Hearn type deal with Wilder going over to DAZN if he ends up going to DAZN, but that's just not the case. Now, here's some more words from Eddie Hearn as well, too.
Not just Wilder, Joshua. So he's already proved through the Canelo signing and with me with the Golovkin signing that he's very good at doing that.
That's not his level boss.
Yeah, and I think he will get Wilder. I do. I think.
So basically, this whole thing with Wilder has nothing to do with Eddie Hearn, as he just admitted there. And also, because you are a DAZN fighter, that does not mean that you are a matchroom fighter. So the whole earn with Hearn statements that these UK fans are making is utterly ridiculous. Because here's some more evidence here that just will explain to you that if you are a DAZN fighter, you are your own fighter. You can still have your own promoter and be a DAZN fighter if your promoter does ink a deal and work out a deal with DAZN. So the DAZN is not exclusive to Matchroom. They work with other promoters, particularly GGG Promotions, particularly Kali Sauerland, who has done the World Boxing Super Series, and also Golden Boy Promotions with Canelo. So here's some more evidence here.
Eddie Hearn is his own promoter. Eddie Hearn has his own deal with DAZN. We as Golden Boy Promotions, we have our own deal with DAZN. Yes, DAZN is spending a lot of money acquiring these types of rights for fighters.
So the whole misconception that Eddie Hearn is calling the shots over at DAZN, he's making the decisions over at DAZN is totally false. Eddie Hearn has a partnership with DAZN, just like Golden Boy Promotions has a partnership with DAZN, just like Kali Sauerland has a partnership with DAZN. So this whole thing that Eddie Hearn is running the show over DAZN. Now, I will admit that Eddie Hearn does have the largest deal collectively with DAZN because he has the most fighters on DAZN. But Canelo Alvarez has the best deal in boxing in regards to, a long-term deal, and he is a DAZN fighter. So this whole misconception that Eddie Hearn's calling the shots, that Deontay Wilder is going to be selling his soul to Matchroom Boxing, that this whole earn with Hearn stuff, I just give you evidence that clearly states that Eddie Hearn is just a promoter and DAZN is actually the broadcaster. They make the decisions over there. John Skipper makes the decisions over there. He was the guy that put together the biggest deal in boxing with Canelo Alvarez. Oscar De La Hoya just said that. Eddie Hearn had nothing to do with that deal. Eddie Hearn just admitted that, saying that John Skipper put together the Canelo deal himself, just as he will have to put this deal together with Deontay Wilder. Does Eddie Hearn have involvement? Sometimes. Sometimes he does. I mean, John Skipper probably does use Eddie Hearn in certain situations for advice, for counseling and stuff like that. But there's just certain deals that Eddie Hearn cannot be involved with. They're just not in his best interest to be involved in certain deals, and that's when John Skipper takes over. So John Skipper's calling the shots. He's the guy that's in charge of the money over there. He's the guy that makes the final decisions. He has the final say. Now, just because Eddie Hearn does have the biggest deal over there collectively with the $1 billion deal for 8 years, that doesn't mean that he's calling the shots. And if you notice, the goal is to go after American-based fighters. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to increase their subscriber base here in America. And the only way to do that is to get a Canelo Alvarez who fights out of America, to get a Gennady Golovkin who fights out of America, to get or try to get a Deontay Wilder who fights out of America. So they have Anthony Joshua, but again, when you listen to Eddie Hearn break down the deal, and I've given quotes in articles about Eddie Hearn explaining that deal, they do not have an exclusivity deal with Anthony Joshua. They have the rights to make the first and last rights of refusal for Anthony Joshua fights, but Eddie Hearn had said that Joshua is free to fight with any U.S. broadcaster that he chooses, but DAZN has the right to make the first offer, and then after they shop it around, if Showtime or ESPN or whoever wants to make another offer, DAZN has the right to match that offer, and if they do not match that offer, then Joshua can fight on Showtime, he can fight on ESPN. So he doesn't even have an exclusivity deal with DAZN. Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin have exclusivity deals with DAZN. They're the ones that are totally committed to DAZN, while Anthony Joshua is not. So Anthony Joshua is not the face of DAZN. Now, you can argue that Eddie Hearn is probably has the most lucrative deal out of everyone collectively. When you look at the events that he has committed to being broadcast on DAZN, he has 16 U.S. dates and he has 16 UK dates. So there's 32 dates that he has committed to. Okay, so when you want to talk about that, yeah, he has the biggest deal collectively. Matchroom has the biggest deal collectively with DAZN. But in terms of just one fighter, people are hearing stupid statements like DAZN is looking to buy Wilder's belt. DAZN is looking to, Anthony Joshua is the face of DAZN. How could Anthony Joshua be the face of DAZN when he doesn't even have an exclusive deal like Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin? If you want to point to one fighter individually who is the face of DAZN, that's Canelo Alvarez. It's not Anthony Joshua. They're not focusing on the UK market, DAZN. They're focusing on the US market. Why do you think Anthony Joshua and Big Baby Miller are fighting in New York? And why do you think Anthony Joshua is fighting Big Baby Miller instead of Dillian White? That's because pressure from DAZN. DAZN wanted to showcase Anthony Joshua in the United States and put him in there with an opponent that he can look good against, that he's heavily favored against, a guy that can talk like Big Baby Miller and really hype up the fight. And they're going to put it in New York City. DAZN orchestrated that whole thing, and they did not want the Dillian White fight. And that's what Eddie Hearn definitely knew. I'm sure they were talking about it, and that's why he was negotiating with both fighters at the same exact time. And that's why he offered Jarrell Big Baby Miller more than was offered to Dillian White. It's all common sense. So all of the evidence and all of the statements being made by John Skipper, by being made by Eddie Hearn, by being made by DAZN, and when you watch these DAZN press conferences and you hear these interviews, all of the evidence points to they are really focusing on the American market. And obviously, Anthony Joshua can definitely be a big part of that, but he is not the only part of that. They're not throwing all of their eggs in one basket. They're not looking to just focus on one fighter. They're looking to focus on a group of high-profile fighters. That's why they're trying to go after Charlo. That's why they're getting ready to make Gervonta Davis a huge offer. So this is not, the Matchroom show per se. Canelo Alvarez, Deontay Wilder, they are not Matchroom fighters. And Canelo Alvarez has a great deal. Gennady Golovkin is not a Matchroom fighter. Okay? So this whole notion that Eddie Hearn is running the show over there, when he just specifically said that John Skipper had to broker the Canelo deal, that he did that single-handedly, as Oscar De La Hoya confirmed and Eddie Hearn confirmed. So this whole thing that Eddie Hearn has all this power over at the DAZN. I mean, granted, he does have the big influence over the DAZN because he does have the most amount of dates. That's a fact. We're going to talk about facts here. Eddie Hearn does have, you know, a great deal of influence, and and the DAZN is heavily invested in Eddie Hearn, more so than any other promoter. When you look at the figures collectively, but an American-based fighter, a Golden Boy fighter, has the most lucrative deal, not a Matchroom fighter, and arguably Gennady Golovkin has the second best lucrative deal. And now, when you bring Deontay Wilder into the mix, he's probably going to be right up there with Gennady Golovkin, or possibly even higher. So you're going to have 3 American-based fighters who are going to be signed to multi-fight deals exclusively, and they're going to be the highest paid athletes on the platform when you look at it from an individual standpoint. So to sit there and say that the DAZN is in the Eddie Hearn business alone, and to sit there and say that he's in the, you know, DAZN is in the Anthony Joshua business alone is totally false. I've given you actual quotes like I always do. Okay, I'm giving you actual quotes like I always do, and you're hearing it right out of people's mouths who are actually involved. Now, you guys are going to sit there and with your bullshit, and you're going to make up your stories, and you're going to sit there and talk about how, you know, how you want things to be, but I'm telling you how things actually are. Okay? I'm telling you how things actually are. So enough with the bullshit. Enough with, you know, all of, you know, the speculation and the fake news stuff. How Eddie, this whole Earn with Hearn thing, this whole Eddie Hearn is the boss over at DAZN. Eddie Hearn is pulling the strings, when I clearly had given you evidence fresh out of, you know, Eddie Hearn's mouth, fresh out of Oscar De La Hoya's mouth, that John Skipper is the final say. John Skipper does do deals himself without Eddie Hearn's involvement. I mean, that's just a fact. Let me see what we got here in the chat. Hi, Joe. Good morning. Hi, Suleiman. How you doing? No, we're not taking calls today. Thank you, Suleiman. Okay. Great win last night for Afe. Big thumbs up. Hey, guys. Canelo is their king. He brings the most dollars. That's correct. Ohio baby. Sean got that ass stomped. Yeah, I thought Sean Porter lost, but we're going to talk about that later today. Well, Canelo hasn't fought Danny Jacobs yet. Yeah, it's going to happen in May, so don't worry about that. I would like Jacobs to win, but I can't see them allowing it to happen. Okay. Smash that goddamn like bucket. Yeah. Yeah, so you know, basically that's just how it is. Whether you guys want to, you know, spread your fake narratives, your false narratives. I just told you how it is. And you know, the DAZN VP have an interview stating that they want to make the AJ an exclusive deal. Yeah, but it's not an exclusive deal. So they're trying to make it, but they don't have it, says Joel R. Quarterbay. So yeah, so they're trying to make that deal with Joshua, but they don't have it yet. So frustrating that the DAZN is blocked in Australia. Yeah. Well, eventually, you know, if they can get more fighters, they'll probably open that up. They'll definitely open that up to more markets. All right, guys. That's all I have, man. I just had to put that out there. I know there's going to be you know, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom sycophants and blind loyalists in the chats trying to come up with specific points, but again, Eddie Hearn is not the boss over there. He's a partner in the DAZN, just like Oscar De La Hoya is a partner in the DAZN, just like GGG Promotions is a partner in the DAZN, just like Sauerland Promotions is a partner in the DAZN. Each and every one of those people or groups or promotional companies have their own deals with the DAZN. So the DAZN is not the Eddie Hearn business, man. It's not just the Eddie Hearn business alone. All right, they're not throwing all their eggs in the Matchroom UK basket. And that's why Eddie Hearn is looking to sign U.S. fighters, because that is the mission statement. That's the mission statement over there. The goal is to try to corner the largest market in sports and in boxing. And that is, whether you guys want to believe it or not, the largest market in boxing is the United States market. That's how you're not going to generate more money in the UK than you could generate in the United States. It's just a fact. History has shown us that the biggest events are always in the United States. The Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez fight, both 1 and 2, generated significantly more revenue than any of Anthony Joshua's fights. So it's not all about the 90-seat stadium. It's all about revenue generated. And the most revenue that can be generated is in the United States. It's the largest economy in the world. It's just basic common sense. The DAZN knows that, and that's why they're focusing very heavily on trying to corner that market. There's no other UK fighters. There's no other UK fighters that they're looking to reach out to for long-term deals. They didn't go after Fury, and they didn't go after Dillian White. Okay? So ask yourself, you have Anthony Joshua, who's the biggest star in the UK. You have Tyson Fury, who's another big star, and you have Dillian White, who's another big star. Why do each of those fighters, why do none of them have an exclusive deal with the DAZN? And why do American-based fighters have exclusive deals with the DAZN? 2 American-based fighters, and now a third fighter is being negotiated with for a multi-fight deal with the DAZN. Why does no UK fighter themselves have an exclusive multi-fight deal with the DAZN? Ask yourself that question. Why? And why is the only big name fighter in the UK, Anthony Joshua, why is there only one big name and the other 2 big names in the UK? Why are they not on the DAZN? Ask yourself that. Because the DAZN is looking to corner this US market. They're looking to focus on this US market, and that is what they're doing right now. And if they get Wilder, then it's a game changer. I mean, if they're able to get Wilder and make an Anthony Joshua fight, it's game over for everybody else. No one else will be able to fuck with the DAZN. I mean, the DAZN is really doing great right now. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're really kicking ass right now. And I know some of these cards have not been great, but Danny Jacobs, Canelo Alvarez, and then you're gonna have Anthony Joshua versus Big Baby Miller, and then if we can squeeze in an Anthony Joshua Deontay Wilder fight by the end of the year or at the beginning of next year, forget it. It's game over. It's game over, man. It'll be game over. No questions asked. So this is not just about Eddie Hearn. This is not just about Matchroom. The goal is to corner the U.S. market and to get U.S.-based subscribers. That is it. And that's why you're hearing Eddie Hearn say, oh, well, Wilder and Joshua probably can be in the U.S. now. They're not talking about it has to be in the UK now. Now they're not talking about flat fees anymore. Now they're talking about, now that they were talking about more than a 40% split. It could be even better than 40% split. Now they're talking about that $15 million that was offered last time. There could be a double that. So now they're talking about $30 million guarantees for Wilder. Why do you think everything has changed so much now? You have the A side. Who is the A side? We'll give him that. Joshua and Eddie Hearn are the A sides here. But why are they the ones all of a sudden now bending and making the concessions? Why are they now starting to give Wilder everything that he asked for originally, but before they didn't, or they weren't willing to? I have one word for you to answer that question. Pressure from the DAZN. The DAZN is putting pressure on Eddie Hearn. They have stated that they were not happy with the card so far, and that's why they reached out to Canelo. That's why they reached out to Golovkin. They're not going to rely solely on Eddie Hearn because he has not delivered thus far. I mean, credit for maneuvering Danny Jacobs into that Canelo fight. Awesome. Credit for him if he's able to make that Wilder fight. If he's able to grow Anthony Joshua based off of this Miller fight in the United States. If this Miller fight does very well, then I'm sure DAZN and Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn will want that Wilder fight in America really bad. Okay? So I think all these UK fans who want to make this about Eddie Hearn, again, this era is fucking ridiculous. You guys talk more about the promoter. You root for the promoter over the fighter. The promoter is not taking the shots. Just because Eddie Hearn is in front of the camera all the time doing the interviews instead of the fighter being in front of the camera doing the interviews, it's about the fighter. It's not about the promoter. You guys care so much about the promoter. You care so much about the broadcaster. I don't give a fuck if Wilder and Joshua fight on the friggin' Cartoon Network. As long as they're fucking fighting, that's all I care about. I don't care if they're on friggin', the public broadcasting system. I don't even care if they're on PBS. I don't care if they're on Nickelodeon. And I don't care if friggin' Ringling Brothers and Bottom and Bailey Circus is friggin' promoting the fight. I just want to see the fucking fight, and that's all you should care about. You guys are, Earn with Hearn, Eddie Hearn. Oh, Wilder's selling. Like, why is that important? Why is that important? Deontay Wilder is a multimillionaire, okay? His family's taken care of. He's not living off of food stamps, dude. He's gonna be fine. Who gives a fuck how much Deontay Wilder is making? That's his business. Okay? Who cares who's fucking promoting the fight? Who cares who's broadcasting the fight? Now, as a fan, I would love to see it be on DAZN, so I won't have to pay for it. But I'm going to pay for it no matter where it's on. I don't care if it's on the Sci-Fi Network. I'm going to watch the fucking fight. That's what it's all about. Guys are rooting for promoters. This promoter is better than that promoter. This network is better than that network. PBC versus Top Rank. Top Rank versus PBC. PBC versus fucking DAZN. Really? Are any of those entities the ones taking the punches? Who fucking cares? So Eddie Hearn is more popular now, or is the focal point now, more so than Anthony Joshua. People are talking more about Eddie Hearn than they are about Anthony Joshua. Like, Anthony Joshua doesn't even do interviews. Like, Eddie Hearn does more interviews than all of his fighters. He's the one that's stealing all the limelight and the glory here. He's the guy with the ego. He's the guy that puts his face out there. He's the guy that's making all of these crazy sound bites. Whereas the fighters should be the one in front of the camera. They should be the ones talking. They should be the ones being interviewed. But Eddie Hearn puts himself out there in the forefront and puts his fighters behind him. Anthony Joshua should be out there, the one doing the press. Shout out to Tyson Fury. I don't agree with his decision to go to ESPN, but at least he was out there giving interviews. He was out there talking to the press. He was out there talking to people. Deontay Wilder is on every YouTube channel. He's on all these podcasts. He's on all these shows. He's constantly talking, and that's why he really increased his profile, and he made people want to see this fight more. Joshua's done nothing to promote this fight. Nothing. Now all of a sudden he wants to fight real bad because from pressure from the fans. But Wilder has been talking about this fight and promoting this fight for the longest time, while Joshua was very nonchalant about it, very dismissive about it. But now he's catching heat, and now Eddie Hearn's catching heat from the fans. Now Joshua is labeled as the one who is avoiding the fight, whether you agree with that or not. So now there's pressure on him. So now all of a sudden they're changing their ways. But if they had this attitude right from the beginning, then we wouldn't be where we are today. But at the end of the day, it's going to be better for both fighters, because at the end of the day, both fighters will probably get more now than they would have gotten if the fight was held last year. Well, Deontay Wilder definitely is going to get more now. So all you people that are calling Deontay Wilder stupid, saying he's been mismanaged, well, we'll find out next week just how mismanaged Deontay Wilder is. We'll find out next week, and I have a strong feeling that DAZN is probably going to give Deontay Wilder, and this is just my opinion, I'm not going on record with this, but DAZN will probably put together, at the very least, a 2-fight deal or possibly a 3-fight deal. Nothing long term, and it'll be for a substantial amount of money. And Anthony Joshua will definitely be involved you know, in those two or three fights, in one of those 2 or 3 fights. Beeb, just accept you have favorite, which is Wilder, but Joshua doesn't have to do the interview. That's why. So another misinformed UK person, Coach Big C. Who did I say? Coach Big C listens to the show every week. Dale, you listen to the show every week. Who did I say was the best heavyweight in the world? And what heavyweight have I been rolling with since 2014? Educate this uneducated UK commenter in here, once again, making up false statements. Okay? Who have I said? Thank you, Coach Big C. Okay? Thank you, Metatruth. Everybody knows that. I've been rolling with Tyson Fury since 2014. I picked him to beat Klitschko when everyone laughed at me. I picked him to beat Wilder, and I thought he won the Wilder fight. Okay? So all of that is irrelevant. The biggest fight in boxing right now is Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. Fuck what I think. Fuck what you think. Facts are fucking facts. Strip down the emotion. Take away the bullshit. Can anyone deny right now the biggest fight in boxing is Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua? Can anyone name one fight that they would like to see more than that fight? Can anyone out there name one fight that's bigger or more substantial or a more relevant fight than Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder? No one can deny that. So fuck all this other bullshit. Fuck all the counting pockets. Fuck the promoter bullshit. Fuck the A side, B side, because everyone's getting paid in this fight. Everyone's going to be happy at the end of the day. Fuck all the other bullshit. It's ridiculous. So if the fight happens, which I think it's going to happen, all of the other bullshit means nothing. I don't want DAZN to flop. I think because people, identify DAZN with Eddie Hearn. They think Eddie Hearn and DAZN are one entity. They think, that they're basically synonymous to each other. But they're not. As I mentioned, DAZN works with other promoters and has partnerships with other promoters. It's not just Matchroom. It's not just Eddie Hearn. But I will concede Eddie Hearn and Matchroom do have the biggest deal collectively. They have the most dates. But in order to make the fights that everyone wants, Eddie Hearn cannot do that with just Matchroom fighters. Okay? So Eddie Hearn is not stupid. Eddie Hearn, to his credit, wants to make all these big fights. But, he has to change his tune. He has to stop being so condescending and putting Anthony Joshua above everybody else, which, Anthony Joshua has definitely earned his spot. Make no mistake about it. But they got to swallow their pride a little bit, and they got to make some concessions. They got to make some concessions. Let everybody eat. Let everybody eat when it comes to this deal. This deal is going to be so big. So if you end up giving Wilder 45%, or even if you go 50-50 with Wilder, if that's what it takes to make the fight, then make the fight. It's still going to be both men's biggest payday to date. If DAZN is willing to step in and give both sides what they want and give both sides a huge amount of the money, it's better that if this fight is on DAZN, because then there won't be like a revenue split per se. We won't have to worry about who's going to get more on the pay-per-view side. DAZN will just give Wilder, DAZN can just give Wilder a fee, and they can give Joshua a fee. And that's that. And neither fighter really needs to know what the other's making. So that's why, DAZN needs to sit down with Wilder alone, and they need to sit down with Hearn and Joshua alone, and they just need to hash out the details. Both sides need to convey to DAZN what they want, what they're looking for, and let DAZN be the mediator, just like Les Moonves with CBS was the mediator when it came to Pacquiao Mayweather. Okay? And that's how it has to be. Suleiman, I don't know who Kiko is, but I'm sure if I block anyone that throws a personal attack at me or insults me, I block them. So if that person insulted me personally, then I must have blocked them for a reason. You know, if you want to talk to that person and you know, maybe, you know, if they can agree to not shoot personal attacks at me, I'll unblock them. The zone is John Skipper is gonna be the hero here, just like I said last week. You know, it has nothing to do with Hearn. Now, obviously, it has something to do with Hearn in terms of Hearn's side having to agree with the terms. But again, you know, John Skipper is going to be the mediator here. They're definitely going to be the mediator here. Joel Country, sorry, I don't use insult. If what I said is not what you think is cool, then you don't have to use profanity towards me. Well, I mean, that's just how we do things in the United States. We're not as politically correct as you guys over in the UK. Sometimes we use cuss words. Eddie Hearn got what he wanted. Wilder did what he said he wouldn't do. Yeah, but again, none of this matters because Eddie Hearn did what he said he wouldn't do. He said he would never give Wilder a percentage. He said that the fight had to be in the UK. He said that Wilder would never get more than 15 million. We don't have to play these games. It doesn't matter. None of that matters because John Skipper is going to negotiate with each side individually, just like Les Moonves did with Pacquiao Mayweather. You know, again, all the straw man arguments. It's about Eddie Hearn. You're making it about Eddie Hearn now. Let's make it about Wilder and let's make it about Joshua. Both guys are going to get the largest paydays of their career, and this is going to be the biggest fight in boxing. So Eddie Hearn is doing what he said he would never do. Okay? Wilder is a free agent. He can do whatever he wants. So I don't know if Wilder ever said that he would never fight in DAZN. What Wilder did say is he'll never do business with Eddie Hearn. That's what I believe he said. Beeb, again, the fight would be two-way rematch, one in USA and one in UK. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see if that's what they want. I wouldn't be surprised if both fights were in the United States because that's, again, that's where the money is. Why would you not want to put the fight in the United States where you can charge 3 times the amount for a ticket? Okay, and so Eddie Hearn also said that he would never give Wilder a percentage. He also said that the fight had to be in the UK. We can go back and forth with this all day. Does it really matter? Does any of it really matter? Does any of it really? If you want to really look at it, Eddie Hearn is basically going against what he said more than what Wilder. Wilder said he's never fighting on the app, and he said that he would never work with, let Hearn be involved in the negotiations. So let's go back and see what Hearn said. That the first fight had to be in the UK. That Wilder would never get a percentage, and that 15 million is the final offer. So do you want to go back and do that? So what? Does any of that matter? So you care more about Wilder saying he would never fight on an app, and you care more about Wilder saying that he wanted the DAZN to fail. So what's the point? Like, what does that have to do with the fight? So you're focusing on that. So because Wilder said those things, now you don't want the fight to happen now. So now you want to use that. See, you guys are throwing stumbling blocks up for this fight not to happen. You're making excuses for this fight not to happen. So if you don't want this fight to happen, then you don't want this fight to happen. I'm not in that camp. I'm not going to subscribe to that. Yeah, both lied, but Eddie Hearn probably lied a lot more. Now, whether that matters or not, I think, in my opinion, I think Eddie Hearn is more to blame for this fight not happening. But I don't care. It doesn't matter to me who's more at fault, because now it looks like the fight's going to get made. So all the other bullshit doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't care about the fucking 50 million. I don't care about Eddie Hearn saying this, saying that. But if you're going to call one guy a liar, you have to call the other guy a liar too. Both parties are responsible, but you could argue that one's more than the other. In my opinion, I just think Hearn is more to blame than Wilder. That's just my opinion. Do I agree with Team Wilder not wanting to pick up the phone when Eddie Hearn called? No. Do I agree that Team Wilder didn't want to meet with Eddie Hearn in New York? I think that was wrong. But Eddie Hearn set the tone with his condescending remarks, with his insults, with his minimizing Deontay Wilder. He made this personal first. And that's why we are where we are. Eddie Hearn openly said, you know, he regrets saying some of the things he did, and he admitted that he was wrong. It's not me. It's not me saying these things. Yeah, but so again, Dawkins, you're more concerned about all of that stuff. What Wilder said. So also Hearn said that Wilder is a nobody. And now he went and said he was wrong. Now he turned around and said Wilder proved me wrong. He's turned himself into a name. That's why every Joshua fight, what's Anthony Joshua asked, every fight at every press conference that he's at before every fight, when you're going to fight Wilder. None of this stuff matters. If you're more concerned with what Wilder said and what Eddie Hearn said, more so than having the fight being made, and you think because these guys said these things that the fight shouldn't be made, then that's your opinion. Then you don't want the fight to happen. Welcome to the plantation, Wilder. What does that mean though? Like I don't understand. I don't understand that. He never said DAZN was the plantation. He said Matchroom was the plantation. That's what he said. He said Eddie Hearn was the plantation owner. And that's why he's not doing business with Eddie Hearn. I think that a lot of people made negative comments about DAZN because in the beginning, there was a misunderstanding that basically Eddie Hearn was the man over at DAZN, which he's not. John Skipper is. So, I mean, whether he said that or not, it's not really important to me. Is that so? Because Wilder said that, does that mean you don't want the fight to happen, Dawkins? Does that mean that you're not going to watch the fight? Does that mean you've lost interest in the fight because of Wilder's statements? Is that what your stance is? Is that really a big thing? Is that a big focal point in regards to this fight, in regards to this negotiations with each side said? Well, I don't think he's going to be dealing with Eddie Hearn. He's going to be dealing with John Skipper. So, I think John Skipper and DAZN are gonna basically, do the negotiations for this fight. They're gonna put the deals together. Now, obviously, they're gonna have to work together in some capacity, but it's not like it's going to be a Matchroom promoted event. I don't think that they're going to allow Matchroom to promote this fight. Maybe it'll probably be a co-promoted event. I don't think Eddie will have the lead here. So Hearn is behind Hearn is behind his deal. Oscar De La Hoya, again, you didn't listen to the audio. You didn't listen to the audio at the beginning of the show. Eddie Hearn said he has his deal. Golden Boy has their deal. DAZN is not affiliated in terms of, like, they're not run by Matchroom. They're not one entity. But who cares? Who cares? Like, again, we're going back to Matchroom. We're going back to Eddie. Who cares about that? Who cares about all that stuff? What about the fight? Aren't you? No, AJ is with Matchroom. But Eddie Hearn had nothing to do with the Canelo deal when Canelo went to DAZN. He said that. He said that was John Skipper, and Oscar De La Hoya said that was John Skipper. So in order for a big deal to get done, doesn't mean Eddie Hearn has to be involved with it. So I don't know. Like, I don't understand what you guys are not understanding. Eddie Hearn does not run DAZN. John Skipper does. John Skipper is the guy that puts the big deals together. So, yeah, I don't know what this obsession is with Matchroom and with Eddie Hearn. Like, that people care more about Eddie Hearn getting what he wants instead of getting the fight. There is no hate from Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn said some things that Wilder didn't like. He made it personal with Wilder, and so now you have to talk to Wilder about that. All I'm telling you is Eddie Hearn does not run DAZN. There's this misconception that Eddie Hearn, that if you do a deal with DAZN, that you have to go through Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn does not make the final say over there. He's not calling the shots. So all these other people, these UK sycophants in there that are obsessed with Eddie Hearn, they're obsessed with Matchroom. They can sit there and say whatever they want, but deals get done over there without Eddie Hearn. And yeah, Eddie Hearn did bring it upon himself. He brought the hate on himself instead of keeping it business. Yeah, because he made it personal. He's the one that's calling people Shirley instead of Shelley. What do you mean Wilder's magnificent 180? What do you mean? Like, so you're saying that Wilder never wanted to fight? These arguments are ridiculous. So you care more about that than why does any of that matter? I don't understand. So you don't want the fight to happen then. You're looking for roadblocks. You're more concerned about what Wilder and Hearn said about each other. So so you don't think Hearn contradicted himself either? You don't think Hearn contradicted himself either? Both guys said stuff that they're going back on. So you would rather Hearn stick to what he said, and rather Wilder stick to what he said. And if we go off of that, then the fight doesn't get made. So you don't want the fight to happen then. Dawkins does not want the fight to happen. I just don't understand what your stance is on this. So your stance is because Wilder said that he would never fight on DAZN. So now you don't. So now that if the fight does happen on DAZN, you think it shouldn't happen because Wilder said it wouldn't happen. What is your stance? So you want Wilder to stick to what he said. So if Wilder sticks to what he said and Hearn sticks to what he said, then the fight doesn't get made. So is that your stance, that both sides should stick to what they said? So both sides should stick to what they said, and now as a result of that, we don't get the fight. I don't understand what your stance is. You're trying to make this about Eddie Hearn instead of Anthony Joshua versus Wilder. Eddie Hearn's not going to be throwing the punches. He's not fighting. So who cares what he said? Wilder's being a hypocrite, but I don't care so long as we get the fight. But Eddie Hearn is being a hypocrite too, because he is saying that Wilder would only get a flat fee and that's all he would ever get. He's saying that the fight had to happen in the UK. He's saying that he would never give Wilder a split. And then he went back on all those things. So can we agree that they both lied? Or they both went back on their word? Can we agree on that? I don't understand your stance, Beeb. Wilder don't want to negotiate, open your eyes. I don't understand what you're talking about. Do you not know that Wilder has a meeting with John Skipper next week? I'm sure they're not going to be talking about what they had for lunch, or they're not going to be talking about the weather. They're going to be talking about boxing. So if he didn't want to negotiate, then why does he have a meeting with John Skipper? Your statement should be he doesn't want to go negotiate with Hearn. That's why Hearn is not going to be involved. Did you guys listen to the beginning of the video where I gave the quotes where you heard Eddie Hearn say that he's not going to be involved in negotiations at all? John Skipper's doing it, just like John Skipper did the Canelo deal himself. So again, you're not listening. You're not listening. You're ignoring facts and you're putting emotion into it. You want to take a side. You have to take a side, and that side's going to be Eddie Hearn. So you're going to ignore everything factual about this whole debate, and you're just going to ignore it. So Wilder is meeting with John Skipper of DAZN next week, and they're going to be discussing a potential deal, but yet Wilder doesn't want to negotiate. Can anyone in the chat answer me a question? Does that statement make sense? Does that make sense that Wilder does not want to negotiate if he has a meeting with John Skipper of DAZN, who's broadcasting who broadcasts boxing? But why do you have to acknowledge that Wilder is extremely contrary? What does that matter? Why do we have to acknowledge that? Why is that more important than the fight happening? Can you acknowledge that Hearn is extremely contrary? Because if you can't, I'm going to come out and say that they both contradicted each other. But you're only admitting that Wilder contradicted himself. So you're biased. So you're more concerned about taking a side as opposed to the fight happening. So you're not really a fan of the fight. You're a fan of the conflict. You're a fan of the division. You're a fan of Hearn versus Wilder instead of Wilder versus AJ. That's what you're more concerned about. And if that's your stance, then we're on different islands, brother. We're on different islands. I'm not going to focus on who lied and who contradicted, or I'm not going to concern myself with that. I'm concerning myself with the fight. Hearn's not even involved in the negotiations. He's not at the meeting. He just said it again. I'll have to play it again since you're ignorant. Since you're very ignorant, I'll have to play what I played at the beginning because you're not getting it. This is out of Hearn's mouth. I'll have to play it real quick. Hold on for 1 second. Because you guys don't want to listen to what I'm saying. This isn't me talking, this is Eddie Hearn talking. So let's hear it out of Hearn's mouth. We'll play the audio once again.
The way that deal was ever going to get money was doing it this way.
Which way? You said
The John Skipper way.
meaning
Meaning that there's no relationship between me, Wilder, me, Shelley, me. I've reached out.
So he basically just told you that he is not involved in the negotiation. Now, I'm also going to give you some audio where it states that he had no involvement in the Canelo deal.
Not just Wilder, Joshua. So he's already proved through the Canelo signing and with me with the Golovkin signing that he's very good at doing that.
I know he's my old boss.
Yeah, and I think he will get welcome. I do. I think that he will.
So he basically just told you that he is not involved with this deal being done, and he was not involved in the Canelo deal. And I also will give you audio of Oscar De La Hoya saying that he is not involved with Eddie Hearn either.
Eddie Hearn is his own promoter. Eddie Hearn has his own deal with DAZN. We, as Golden Boy Promotions, we have our own deal with DAZN. Yes, DAZN.
So again, I'm giving you, facts and actual quotes out of these people's mouths, and you're still arguing against. It has nothing to do with my opinion. What I'm saying, I'm giving you the words out of these people's mouths, and you're still fucking arguing with me about it. So these people aren't saying these things? I don't understand what anyone's argument is. Canelo going to DAZN also benefits Hearn. So of course it benefits Hearn because his fighters can fight Canelo. What's wrong with that? I'm not focusing on this BS, Sean. Other people are. I just want to see the fight. People are saying that Eddie Hearn is involved in this deal, and he's not. People are saying that if you fight on DAZN, you have to be a matchroom fighter. It's not true. Eddie Hearn does not own DAZN. Eddie Hearn does not work for the DAZN. Eddie Hearn has a partnership with DAZN, just like Golden Boy has a partnership with DAZN. Just like Gennady Golovkin Promotions has a partnership with DAZN. Just like Sauerland Productions has a partnership with DAZN. Exactly. I'm not concerned about who's involved with it. I don't care if Wilder signs with DAZN, but there's this misconception that if he signs with DAZN, he's signing with Matchroom. That's not true. I already agreed that Hearn was the #1 promoter for DAZN because he has the most lucrative deal. We have to acknowledge that Wilder is extremely contrary because it will help us access the strength of the lack there of his words in the future. Wilder's words are... So what about Hearn's words? You're not acknowledging what Hearn said. So I don't think you've been really watching the sport very long if you think that people tell the truth in this sport 100% of the time. You think fighters always tell the truth? You think promoters always tell the truth? You don't think nobody exaggerates? Like, are you that naive to think that there's a person that's involved in this sport? Hearn allowed the DAZN people to make Wilder the offer because Wilder's team, Hearn didn't allow anything. Hearn didn't allow anything. Skipper does not have to get permission from Eddie Hearn to do anything. Skipper didn't have to get permission to make the Canelo deal. You guys don't understand. You're detaching yourself from reality. I just played actual words out of his mouth. He was not the lead on it. No, he was not. Again, let's go back to what the quote is. You're ignoring what's being said. You're ignoring it. Let's go back to what was said from Hearn. Because you guys don't want to listen. Here it is.
The way that deal was ever going to get money was doing it this way.
Which way? You said
The John Skipper way.
meaning
Meaning that there's no relationship between me, Wilder, me, Shelley, me. I've reached out a dozen times to make.
Okay? Let's go back, listen some more.
offers to just try.
you're paying me to put. You got to put Skipper on the
Correct,
with
yeah.
Wilder.
Yeah, but he's got to be the one, in my opinion, that brokers the deal, because he's got two people to broker the deal with.
Okay. So he just said that he has no involvement in doing the deal with Wilder. Okay? So you don't want to listen to facts. You don't want to listen to facts. He had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. And if you say he does, then you're just ignoring what I just played. He did not have the lead. He did not step aside. He did not step aside. He was circumvented. He's taking a back seat, but he's not masterminding it. He's not. He's not. He's not masterminding anything. Unless Hearn gets a CEO position at DAZN, then he doesn't have control of it. Exactly, Krista Green. He has no authority over there. He didn't broker it. He just said he didn't. You're making it up. I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you. I just showed you that he did not. He said he had nothing to do with it. Yeah, but this offer has nothing to do with the initial offer. So what about Wilder's initial offer of $50 million? Wilder made an offer too. He didn't broker the deal. He didn't broker the deal. He can't make the deal. John Skipper is the only person. He said the only way the fight gets done is through John Skipper. No argument, Eddie Reigns. Well, again, this isn't a promoter show. This is a boxing show. The name of the game is boxing. It's not promoting. So you guys need Eddie to win. I don't care. Yeah, I'm not even going to argue about Eddie Hearn. Facts are facts. The only way that if you say anything different is if you can't understand English. It was just, you're listening with your hate. I don't hate anything. I want the fight's going to happen now because Eddie Hearn's not involved in it. He's not involved in negotiations. He fucked up the negotiations. So now John Skipper's taking the reins and he's going to make the fight happen. Who cares? Wilder's going to be his own fighter next week probably. Who cares? I don't care about Eddie Hearn. I'm just refuting the lies. Who's the boxing guy? Skipper is. Hearn is a promoter. He has a deal. So is Bob Arum ESPN's boxing guy? Like Max Kellerman doesn't have his own show on ESPN? I don't understand. Yeah, I can't argue with him. I can't argue with them. Skipper is like Les Moon, just like Les Moonves, stood in. Why do people need? Yeah, but he's not. Of course, he's going to be involved because he's going to be involved on the Joshua side. He's going to have nothing to do with Wilder. Skipper, Hearn just said that Skipper is going to be he's going to be having two meetings, one with Wilder's side and one with Joshua. He's going to have to make 2 deals. Hearn's not the captain of the ship. He doesn't have a position over there. He's a promoter. So is Al Heyman the captain of Showtime's ship? No, Steven Espinosa is. I think people are misunderstanding that promoters work with networks. They work with broadcasters. They don't run broadcasters. They're partners. Basically, they work together. Okay? If the broadcaster decides they don't want to show the fights, they don't show the fights. DAZN decided they did not want to show Dillian White's fight, so they did not show Dillian White's fight. Eddie Hearn could not make them show Dillian White's fight if they decided they didn't want Dillian White's fight. DAZN and John Skipper call the shots. It's just the way it is. They're making 2 separate deals, one with Joshua and one with Wilder. That's the way the fight's getting made. Wilder said it. Eddie Hearn just said it. They're dealing with 2. DAZN is working with 2 people. It's already been played. The audio's been played. Can't argue it. I mean, you can't really refute it. Canelo has his own deal, just like Oscar De La Hoya said. Eddie Hearn has his own deal, just like Oscar De La Hoya said. And Eddie Hearn confirmed it. If Wilder goes over there, he's going to have his own deal. He's not going to be a matchroom fighter. That's just the facts. It doesn't matter. Now the split's out the window, because if it's on DAZN, it's not going to be pay-per-view. DAZN's going to make Wilder an offer, and they're going to make Joshua an offer. DAZN's going to be paying the fighters. DAZN's going to be giving the money to the promoter, and the promoter's going to be paying the fighters through DAZN. DAZN's putting up the money. It's DAZN's money. It's not Eddie Hearn's money. No, Hearn did not allow Skipper to take the lead. Skipper took the lead because Skipper decided to take the lead and put Eddie Hearn out of the equation because he wants the fight to happen. Just like Les Moonves took the lead. Floyd Mayweather, Top Rank, Showtime, and PBC did not allow Les Moonves to take the lead. Les Moonves decided to take the lead. Eddie Hearn does not own DAZN. He doesn't own DAZN. DAZN is its own private entity. They're not owned by Matchroom. Yes, Eddie Hearn just confirmed it. I've heard Eddie Hearn does not own DAZN. He's not the CEO of DAZN. Eddie Hearn is not. Les made the fight. He was the one that made the fight. He stepped in. Eddie Hearn just promotes the fights. The networks want to pick. The networks make the decision. Eddie Hearn can't go to DAZN and say, you have to show this fight. You have to pick up this fight. You have to broadcast my fight. DAZN has first and last right of refusal. They can tell Eddie Hearn, no, we're not showing the fight. And Eddie Hearn has no power. He can't tell them what to do. They make the final decision on what they want to broadcast. I think you're kind of confused on how this whole thing works, Sean. Broadcasters broadcast the fight. Promoters promote fights. Floyd met with Manny directly, yeah, but Les Moonves helped step in and broker the negotiations. I think you're confused. I mean, maybe you don't. I think you don't understand how this works. I think they go to him for his boxing expertise. What does that mean? Does that mean he has the final say? Eddie Hearn. Why did they choose Eddie Hearn? Because he gave them 32 dates, and he promised them that he could help them get U.S. subscribers. That's why they went with him. Is he the best salesman? Hey, this argument isn't about if Eddie Hearn's good at his job. I'm not going to say Eddie Hearn's bad at his job. That's not my argument. My argument is that DAZN is making power moves, and they're aggressively looking for U.S. fighters And they're not looking for just matchroom fighters. They're looking for fighters from all promotions. So this is not just about Eddie Hearn. I'm not dismissing Hearn. If you watch the video, I said Hearn has the biggest DAZN deal collectively. He has $1 billion deal with DAZN. But that still doesn't mean that DAZN is not going to work with other fighters. If you look at Eddie Hearn's DAZN, none of his fighters have an exclusive deal with DAZN. Anthony Joshua is not an exclusive DAZN fighter in the U.S. The only exclusivity deals that fighters have, they're U.S.-based fighters. Canelo is a U.S.-based fighter, and Golovkin is a U.S.-based fighter. They're the only two fighters that have multi-fight exclusivity deals with DAZN. All Eddie Hearn's deal is he promised them 32 shows. 16 UK shows, 16 American shows. That's all it is. So Eddie Hearn does not own DAZN. It's just he is a promoter. He does not work for DAZN. He doesn't have. So what's his position? What does he do over there? Eddie Hearn said that DAZN did not want to pick up the Dillian White fight. So if Eddie Hearn owned DAZN, then why didn't they put why didn't they broadcast the Dillian White fight? Yes, and when Hearn made offers to fighters, it wasn't to be repped only by Matchroom. He brokered deals unless people wanted to go directly to the top, which is what Wilder's doing. Hey, that's all on DAZN. It has nothing to do with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn had nothing to do with the Canelo deal. And he's having nothing to do with this Wilder deal. He openly said it out of his own mouth. So in order for this Wilder deal to get made, Eddie Hearn doesn't have to be involved. Eddie Hearn was not involved in the Canelo deal. He was not. Eddie Hearn is public relations for DAZN in the U.S. Well, I mean, he's definitely a mouthpiece. There's no question about that. But he does not have. I don't sound like the LDBC channels. So you're telling me that Eddie Hearn makes the final decisions? Yeah, of course. So does Golden Boy. Golden Boy has a partnership with DAZN too. Top Rank has a partnership with ESPN. PBC has a partnership with Showtime. PBC has a partnership with Fox. That's the same. I mean, what does that mean? Because you have a partnership with someone doesn't mean you own the company. Okay, so Sean, your stance is this. You're saying that Eddie Hearn makes the final decisions on every deal that DAZN makes with fighters. So you say Eddie Hearn, you're saying Eddie Hearn made the Canelo deal and he's making the Wilder deal. That's your stance. When he openly just said that he doesn't. I can't argue. That's what you. So then if he doesn't have that power, then he's not controlling anything. Hearn said it out of his own mouth that he does not make the decisions over there. Okay, so he's not the boss. He's not running DAZN. He was not involved in the meeting with Golden Boy. He just said that John Skipper was. I can't argue with people. Like, I'm showing you the evidence. Like, he just said that he wasn't involved. He said John Skipper did the deal. It's funny. He did not do the deal. John Skipper did the Canelo deal. He just said that. And you're arguing with me. What do you mean? What does that mean he was an advisor? He gave his opinion? What does that mean? He had nothing to do with the deal. Canelo is not a matchroom fighter. He's a Golden Boy fighter. You're not listening. Again, let's play it again. I'm playing it one last time for the idiots that can't understand English. It's just ridiculous. He's going to say it out of his own mouth. Here we go. Here we go.
Eddie Hearn is his own promoter. Eddie Hearn has his own deal with DAZN. We as Golden Boy Promotions, we have our own deal with DAZN.
Okay. So Oscar De La Hoya has nothing to do with Eddie Hearn. They each have their own individual deals. Okay? He just said it. Oscar De La Hoya just said it, and you guys are still gonna like you can't. It's irrefutable. So now you don't believe what these people are saying about their own deals. So now Eddie Hearn will tell you. Now Eddie Hearn will tell you that John Skipper did the Canelo deal himself. Let me pull up this one where he says that John Skipper did the Canelo deal. So now
You're paying me the point you got to put Skipper on the record with Wilder.
That brokers the deal. Because you've got two people to broker the deal with, not just Wilder, Joshua. So he's already proved through the Canelo signing and with me with the Golovkin signing that he's very good at doing that.
I know he's my old boss.
Yeah, and I think he will get Wilder. I do. You know, I think that he.
So he's talking about how John Skipper did the Canelo deal himself. He just told you that, and he's telling you that he believes that Skipper will get Wilder. So Eddie Hearn is not in charge of getting fighters. John Skipper is the man who does the deals. It's not Eddie Hearn. Whether or not Eddie Hearn puts in his 2 cents from an advisory role or not, he has no authority on who signs with DAZN. He's only responsible for his own promotion. Okay? I am wasting my time because I'm trying to convince people who aren't willing to listen and absorb. Barry probably still whispers instructions at Eddie Hearn. Exactly. He's ignorant. I can't listen to this anymore, so it doesn't matter. All right, guys. So at least we cleared that up. We got it from people's own mouths. Eddie Hearn is not in charge of signing fighters to DAZN. He's only responsible for matchroom fighters. Can he negotiate with other promoters? Can promoters work together? Absolutely. But all this is irrelevant because I don't hate anything. I'm just why is it hate when I'm making a factual statement? So what is your stance? What is your stance, Sean? I just told you that Eddie Hearn is not in charge of making deals over there. He did not make the Canelo deal, and he's not making the Wilder deal. That's a fact. Can we agree on that? Can we agree on that? I just showed you that he's not. Eddie Hearn does not have a CEO position over there. He's not in charge. I just showed you he's not in charge over there. So now you're going to tell me that he is? He was not involved in the Canelo deal. He just said, again, you're ignoring it. He was involved in the GGG deal because GGG pulled him into it. It's not factual. You're taking part info and pushing a narrative. He just said that he wasn't. I can't argue with it. Doesn't matter. You're just not listening to what it was. Okay, so then how is he involved? How is he involved? He had a 2 separate deal. Yeah, they're just trying to. You guys are just trolling now. I don't think you're serious. We can't. I know you're just kidding around now. I know you're just trolling. Yeah, Steve Kim's going to be here tonight. I know you're just trolling now. You know that Hearn's just a promoter and DAZN's a broadcaster. I mean, that's just the way it is. Yeah. I don't know why in this day and age, like you guys root for promoters. Yeah, like Jacobs is a Matchroom fighter. He made a deal with Matchroom. He's a Matchroom fighter. So now you're saying Canelo's a Matchroom fighter too because he's fighting Jacobs? So is Canelo a Matchroom fighter? Is Golovkin a Matchroom fighter? Is Josh Kelly a Matchroom fighter? Are all these people that fought on the Super Series tournament, are they all Matchroom fighters too? Those events that were promoted by Sauerland Promotions, did they have to ask Hearn if they could fight on DAZN? Or did DAZN make separate deals with them? It's just, I mean, I just don't understand it. I give you guys evidence and I give you words out of their own promoters' mouths, and you're not gonna listen to it. You're not gonna ignore it. You're just gonna ignore it. So those are matchroom fighters, yeah. Jacobs and Usyk are matchroom fighters. I don't have an issue with Hearn. So by saying that Hearn doesn't promote Canelo Alvarez, and he doesn't promote Gennady Golovkin, and he doesn't promote all the Golden Boy fighters, and he doesn't promote all of the Super Series fighters that Kali Sullivan promotes. I'm just making factual statements. I'm just saying that in order to fight on DAZN, you don't have to be a matchroom fighter. That's all I'm saying. DAZN signed GGG. GGG doesn't have a contract with Matchroom. He has his own promotional company. GGG's. So now you're saying GGG is a Matchroom fighter? But what does that mean? He's an advisor for Skipper, that he gives his opinion. Does that mean that he can tell Skipper what to do? That he's the final say in there? So you're saying that he needed Hearn's advice to sign Canelo, who's the biggest star in the sport? So if Hearn didn't, so what you're saying is that Canelo wouldn't. It's Eddie Hearn's. You're saying it's Eddie Hearn's doing that Canelo Alvarez signed with DAZN when Oscar De La Hoya said that he wasn't even involved. Oscar De La Hoya did his own separate deal with DAZN. Eddie Hearn wasn't even involved. He just said it. Said we did our own deal. Eddie Hearn did his own deal. And Eddie Hearn just said John Skipper did the Canelo deal. Skipper can have Eddie Hearn as an advisor all he wants, but he makes the final say. It's not like these deals don't get done unless so what you're saying is these deals don't get, the Canelo deal doesn't get done and the Boxing Super Series deals don't get done unless Eddie Hearn gives it the okay. Is that what you're saying? What's your stance? Eddie Hearn has the biggest deal on DAZN. I do know what the relationship is. Eddie Hearn has said it in numerous interviews that he does not have the final say over there. If DAZN has first and last rights refusals on the fights, what does that mean, Sean? Let's talk about legalities here. What does first and last rights refusals mean? DAZN has the right to pass on any fight they want, just like they passed on the Dillian White fight, who was a matchroom fighter. So DAZN is the decision maker here. They have first and last right refusal. So that doesn't mean that Eddie Hearn calls the shots. If Eddie Hearn calls the shots, then he could put whatever fight he wanted on there. He tried to get Dillian White to be on DAZN, but DAZN told him we don't want to show the fight. So they have the right to tell Eddie Hearn we're not showing the fight. They're the boss. That's all it is. Being an advisor that doesn't mean you have an authority position there. So my stance is Eddie Hearn is not the decision maker over at DAZN. That's a fact. He's not. Does he have influence? Possibly. Does he have influence? Possibly. But does that mean that everything Eddie Hearn says John Skipper is going to agree with? I'm sure they're going to disagree. They disagreed on several things already. So that's all my point is. My point is, just because Eddie Hearn wants something to happen doesn't necessarily mean DAZN is going to do it. That's all. Yeah, possibly. Possibly. So what you're saying is Eddie Hearn can say anything he wants to John Skipper, and John Skipper is just automatically going to agree with it. Is that what the stance is? No, you can call in tonight. You can call in tonight if you want. But why is this about dismissing Hearn? Why do you want to make this about Hearn? It's just a fact. You're overstating his influence on what goes on at DAZN. The fact of the matter is, DAZN shows more matchroom fights than they show any other fight. That's a fact. He has the biggest deal with DAZN. But that does not mean that he has a say in everyone else's deal. He doesn't have a say in everyone else's deal. That's just a fact. You can't tell me. It's not my focus. I'm just clarifying misconceptions. People think that the only reason why Wilder is going to DAZN is because of Eddie Hearn. It's not. We already are focusing on the Wilder deal. We are focused on the Wilder deal. But Wilder does not have to be a matchroom fighter to go to DAZN. That's a fact. Why does that bother you? Why does it bother you that Wilder's not going to... Why do you want Wilder to be a matchroom fighter? Why does Canelo have to be a matchroom fighter? Why is that so important to you? How do I know? Did you listen to the tape? Again, another idiot that doesn't listen. He said it. Again, this is the last time I'm showing it. How do I know? Because he said it. People, like, you guys are fucking delusional. You guys are sick. You guys are fucking sick. Another idiot in the chat. How do you know Hearn has zero involvement? Okay, last time. Last time.
Eddie Hearn is his own promoter. Eddie Hearn has his own deal.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on.
Way that deal was ever going to get made was doing it this way.
Which way? You said
The John Skipper way. Meaning that there's no relationship between me, Wilder, me, Shelley, me. But I've reached out a dozen times to make offers to just try.
You're paying me the point. You got to put Skipper on the
Correct,
with
yeah.
Wilder.
Yeah, but he's got to be the one, in my opinion, that brokers the deal because he's.
Okay, so John Skipper is the one that has sole involved. He's the one making the deal. Listen to the rest of it.
Got two people to broker the deal with, not just Wilder, Joshua. So he's already proved through the Canelo signing and with me with the Golovkin signing that he's very good at doing that.
I know he's my old boss.
Yeah, and I think he will get Wilder. I do. You know, I think that
So he will get Wilder. He will get Wilder. He will broker the deal. And again, how do I know Hearn's not involved? Because he just said that he's not involved. He's going to have no relations or no involvement in the negotiations. That was the 15th time that I've played the tape, and people still are arguing that. I'm telling the truth, and you guys still don't want to listen. Still don't want to listen. Yeah, Hearn's involved in it from his side. Now we're going back to the hatred for... there's no hatred for Hearn. There's no hatred for Hearn. He's not involved in it. He's not involved. I do listen to my own clip. Hearn is not involved in it. He's only involved in it from his side. Hearn personality before the DAZN deal made the rest of the promoters step up their game. That could be true. I don't disrespect Hearn. I don't disrespect Hearn. And Wilder made offers. Like, both sides made offers. Wilder made a $50 million offer. So it is what it is. Like, you guys are mad. Yeah, he's involved from his side of it. He's not involved in Wilder's side. He has nothing to do with Wilder's side. The DAZN is making two separate offers, one to Wilder, one to Joshua. He just confirmed that. That's the fact. I can't argue it anymore. I mean, I just played it 3 times. he has no involvement in what Wilder's getting. What do you mean Wilder didn't do shit? Wilder has a meeting next week with John Skipper. And John Skipper is making Wilder an offer. That's just the fact. That's just a fact. So what about Hearn's offers? Like, does Hearn have to provide proof of funds too? Yeah, he's involved with Joshua. He has not involved with Wilder. He just said it. He goes, "We are not involved." See, now these people are just trolling. They don't believe what they say because they're denying what they just heard. Like this is delusion. This is delusion. DAZN is not, Eddie Hearn is not a DAZN representative. He's a partner. Skipper's not taking over. This is a whole separate negotiations. This is not the same negotiations. Doesn't matter because while Wilder is not negotiating with Eddie Hearn, and Hearn just said he's not negotiating with Wilder. So nothing you guys say can change that. I'm not going to argue it anymore. I mean, I've already played it 3 times, and you're ignoring it. So that's what it is. DAZN, Matchroom doesn't own DAZN. DAZN doesn't work for Matchroom. DAZN is their own entity. DAZN signs their own fighters. DAZN makes their own decisions. Eddie Hearn can have an opinion all he wants, but he's not the end-all, be-all of that organization. Skipper can only make this deal because I'm not arguing with that. I'm not arguing with that. I agree. Wilder's $50 million offer was a bluff. I can't confirm or deny that. I didn't see proof of funds either. So I don't know. All I know is that Skipper is going to make 2 separate offers, one to Wilder and one to Joshua, for this fight to happen. That's all. That's all. Hearn is not going to be the one putting up the money for this fight. DAZN is. So that's what it is. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about the $50 million, but if people are going to talk about offers being made, I mean, I have to bring it up. I mean, I don't care about what happened in the past. All I can tell you right now is what's happening in the future. And all I know is these are the facts. Canelo Alvarez has his own deal with DAZN. Eddie Hearn is not involved in that deal whatsoever. Does he work with Golden Boy to co-promote events together? Yes, he does. Does he promote Canelo Alvarez? No, he does not. Is he involved in Canelo Alvarez's deal? Absolutely not. He said he wasn't, and so did Oscar De La Hoya. Fact number 1. Fact number 2, Deontay Wilder has a meeting with John Skipper, and John Skipper will be making an offer to Deontay Wilder. It'll be DAZN's money, not Eddie Hearn's money. That's fact number 3. Fact number 4 is Eddie Hearn will not be involved at all in the offer that DAZN will be making to Deontay Wilder. He'll not be involved at all in that, as he just said. That's fact number 4. Everything I said is irrefutable. Is Eddie Hearn an advisor to John Skipper? Yes. Does he give John Skipper his opinion? Yes. Does John Skipper listen to his opinion? Sometimes, probably. Does he listen to his opinion all the time? I don't know. I can't say he does or he doesn't. But all I do know is John Skipper has made deals in the past without Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is not involved in the Super 6 series. He's not involved in Canelo Alvarez. He's not involved in Bellator. I mean, DAZN does not have to go through Eddie Hearn to make a deal with another promoter. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what's legitimate and what's not legitimate. I've never seen Eddie Hearn's checks. I've never seen proof of funds. I don't care about all this. None of this stuff matters. The fact of the matter is, Deontay Wilder is going to meet with DAZN next week, and he's going to be given an offer. That's the fact. That's a fact. It's not going to be with Matchroom. It's not going to be with Eddie Hearn. Deontay Wilder will have his own deal with DAZN. And that's just a fact. That's all. Whether or not Eddie Hearn is going to be discredited or minimized, Eddie Hearn has the largest deal in sports right now. He's got a $1 billion deal. I'm not going to argue that. He's got a $1 billion deal. He's got an 8-year deal. I'm not going to argue that. But just because he has that deal does not mean he's an authority or he is in charge of signing fighters to the network. His deal is none of his fighters are contractually signed to DAZN. Eddie Hearn's deal is this: I am to provide 16 UK fights to DAZN and 16 American fights to DAZN. And DAZN has first and last rights refusals on each of the fights, and they can pass on any of the fights. And if they do pass, I am able to shop the fights around to other networks in the United States. Those are the facts. Those are the facts. Am I wrong in anything I just said? Those are the facts. That's all. That's my argument here. That all Eddie Hearn's contract says is he has to provide 32 fights total, 16 US, 16 UK. Doesn't say that he has to. He has to give DAZN a specific amount of Joshua fights or a specific amount of Callum Smith fights. He doesn't have any. They're not locked into DAZN. DAZN has first and last rights refusal. If you understand law, first and last rights refusal is they make the initial offer, and then Eddie Hearn has the right to shop it around. And then if he gets a better offer than the initial offer, DAZN has the right to either match or best the offer. And if they don't, then they don't get the fight. That's it. That's all it is. I mean, I'm just talking about legal stuff. That's all. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I think Wilder will take that offer next week. I'm going to make a prediction. I think that offer will probably be a 2 to 3 fight deal. And I think the offer will be in between 100 and 120 million. That's just my opinion. That's my opinion. I think Wilder will sign with DAZN. And my other opinion is I'm predicting that after Wilder beats Brazil or whoever he fights next, and after Joshua beats Miller, if he beats Miller, I think they'll fight each other next. That's what I think. That's just my opinion. And that's all I'm concerned about. That's all I'm concerned about. And the only way this deal is going to get made is if DAZN negotiates individually with each party. That's why it's important that it's being done this way. That's why it's very important that it's being done this way. If having it being done this way means the fight gets made, then that's a good thing. That's a good thing, in my opinion. That's all. That's all. All right, guys, that's all I got for now. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We will have Steve Kim on there, ESPN writer Steve Kim. He'll be on the show tonight. We'll be talking about boxing. We'll be recapping this weekend's fights with Sean Porter and Ugas that took place last night. We'll talk about that decision. A lot of people think that was controversial, so I'm sure we'll have a lot of debate on that. But that's all I got for now. That's all I got for now, and I'll talk to you soon, guys. Have a great day and enjoy, and make sure you tune into the show tonight. Hope to hear from you. All right, peace out. Have a great one.